The ships of the sea are largely shaped by the canals through which they pass.
That's something we've learned through the years in this port community. And the new threshold for shipbuilding is being built itself right now in Panama, where the canal will be deeper and wider when the last set of new locks come online in August of 2014. Question is, will Georgia's ports, specifically those in Savannah, be ready? Well, they've been trying to formulate a plan to get rid of the one and only impediment, which is the depth of the Savannah River, for a dozen-plus years, looking at literally delving, digging, dredging deeper our Savannah River.
We've been the fastest growing port in the country for the last 10 years by a pretty big margin. And right now, we're the fourth busiest port in terms of container volumes in the United States. One statistic that we're not proud of, but is a reality that we've got to face every day, is we're the shallowest major port in the world.
The channel, 42 feet deep. They'd like 48. So far, the Corps says 47 serves the national interest, and they didn't just jump to that conclusion.
It's probably the most studied project of this scope that the Corps has ever dealt with.
It's a very unique authorization. There hasn't been another one like it in the Corps that gives the administrator of the EPA, the secretaries of Commerce, Interior, and the Army an approval on the final plan and the associated mitigation.
To protect the natural environment.
Now going on 12 years studying the environmental impacts, the environmental mitigation plans, spending upwards of $40 million accomplishing that, and then there'll be another $200+ million on environmental mitigation.
So let's look at it. Some still ask about harm to the Floridan aquifer, the source of most of our drinking water.
By the time we're done, our analysis shows that you'll still have a 40-foot layer that protects the aquifer at the thinnest point out near Tybee.
Well, what about erosion? The river's not that wide.
We're going to extend the side slopes of the existing channel down to get us to the depth that's finally approved by the different cooperating agencies. And what that allows us to do is to accommodate the larger vessel traffic more efficiently and safer than we do today.
But can the river pilots navigate it in those massive ships? For that answer, the Corps has done extensive simulation with competent input.
For our pilots, we have complete confidence in them, and they've worked with the Corps very closely at designing all the navigational features. So as far as we're concerned, the voice that really matters has been at the table, and they've given us a green light.
Still, doesn't deepening push more salt water upstream, threatening wildlife and the wildlife refuge?
We have compensated for that by closing a series of cuts and creating some diversions to allow fresh water to flow to the back river towards the wildlife refuge.
But you admit 223 acres of marsh will convert from fresh or salt to brackish.
We've identified 2,245 bottomland hardwoods to mitigate for those 223 acres of conversion.
You know, flow controls like these tide gates built back in the 70s caused some unintended consequences, such that the gates were taken out in 91, and in the current plan?
It'll be taken out in its entirety down to the concrete sill level and used as part of the mitigation for that project.
But what if something similar happens again, or the plan just does not work as expected?
So our plan is to monitor during construction, monitor after construction, and if the desired effect that we were looking for doesn't materialize or doesn't occur, we have adaptive management. We can go and look at it, change the feature, or do something different to get the desired effect.
Okay, so where are you going to put all the stuff that comes off the bottom of the river? Among the several disposal areas, as we look back down the hill here and off to the left, this is the site for the proposed Jasper terminal, right?
Correct. This would be the proposed site for the Jasper terminal. And under the Savannah Harbor Expansion Project, we'll be putting a large quantity of material into these two areas to raise the elevation in here to above 16 feet mean low water.
That really accrues a benefit to the proponents of a terminal on this site, because they can't build it like it is.
Correct. As I mentioned, there'll be a large quantity of material from the Savannah Harbor Expansion, which is suitable for building, suitable construction material.
And Curtis Foltz sees that as just one of the many mutual benefits between Georgia and South Carolina.
This region, Charleston, Savannah, Jasper Port, this region, for us to successfully service commerce and the growing demographics in this region, we need all the capacity that all of our ports can introduce. And ships don't need to be waiting for tides. That costs you and I as consumers.
Bottom line,
We need deeper water now.
working out details with all the agencies, essentially holding kill switches, there are a bunch of them, is expected to take well into next year. What are the environmental folks saying? You may ask that as you see this piece. Well, many from whom I've heard say they like the plan now, especially all of that mitigation, but they aren't so inclined to make public declarations of that. They're watching and waiting. As for the funding, the state is doing its part, and Congress, of course, won't act until the Corps delivers its final plan, hopefully sometime next year. Wears you plumb out, doesn't it?
It does.
But it looks like they've taken literally everything into account, and that's an abbreviated version.
Yeah, definitely. Over the last 14 years there in 4 minutes.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Delving deeper.